you know, they knew when I was on CQ that they really didn't have to sneak and do stupid underhanded shit. Because when soldiers do that, that's when people get hurt, equipment gets damaged, property gets damaged, and that all leads to questions. Terrence Popp here with another episode of Live from the Lair. All right. Well, first of all, gentlemen, I'm really spun up right now, okay? I was supposed to have my kids this weekend. My ex-wife fucking pulled some bullshit. And, you know, I got fucked over. So tomorrow I got to file paperwork with the fucking county and take her ass back to court, because that's what I do. I don't take any bullshit from the cunt. Yeah, and, you know, I'm quite angry right now, and instead of doing something rash and relatively stupid, I will rechannel that energy to do something positive and maybe, you know, entertain or help some of you guys out there, because, you know, when you go out for revenge, you dig two graves. You know, I talk about that in my book, The Warrior's Way, Soldier's Soul. There's a whole rigmarole on revenge, anger, and hatred. So, you know, any person who walks the face of the earth and, you know, has a pulse is going to deal with anger, rage, hatred, and the feelings of revenge. It's going to happen. It's just human nature. All right, gentlemen, now another piece of news I have out there is, I believe last week, I finally got my book published on Kindle, Killer of Killers. It's already got a couple really good reviews. It's about, you know, a psychic who hunts serial killers and then in so doing catches the notice of, you know, actual forces of evil. It has been said, I had it read probably half a dozen times from 6 different people. They all said it was a supernatural thriller with a lot of action, and that action was very gory. In that book, I explain how to stalk and hunt human prey, build bombs, the tactics the cops use, diversions, obstacles. I mean, the whole deal, it's all in there. And there's 3 books in the series. 2 of them are done. The second one's going to go into its final proof here shortly. I just have to, I'm running it through Grammarly. Then I'm going to have another guy look at it real quick to go through for any, you know, really big things. Then it's going to go for the final review. Third book is like 85% done. My goal is to get those 2 books done this year and try to get, you know, a third one done. So that'll be 4 in 1 year. I want to do 4 to 6 books a year if I can. You know, writing books is pretty tough.
Zuck the cuck drinks water like a duck, but he also drinks your data. So tell him and Google to shove your data up their schwing-schwangs by downloading the Brave browser. It's free, blocks online advertising, and protects your privacy and data from evil tech companies. You only see ads if you want to see them, and you get cryptocurrency for your attention. Don't let Zuck use you to make a buck. Download Brave by clicking on the link down below.
All right, now, what are we gonna talk about here today? All right, I think we're gonna talk about shit jobs. In the military, you are going to get shit jobs. Doesn't matter if you're a private, you're a sergeant, or an officer. They will all get their different type of shit jobs. Now, the ones I can mainly speak about are the ones on the enlisted side, and there's a few on the officer side that I had some interaction with. But I don't know if I can cover them all here in a 20-minute video, so this might take 2, possibly 3. First shit job that I ever got in basic training, KP, got it twice. And each KP shift was 12 hours long and covered 3 meals. And they called 2 people per platoon, and it rotated, throughout the companies. And I got picked twice, go figure, to do fucking KP. First time I did KP, I literally peeled somewhere between 1,000 and 1,500 potatoes. All right, now I didn't sit there and do it with a knife. That's too slow. They have like this fucking bin that spins. It's got sandpaper on it, and you put in a load of potatoes. You turn it on. And you gotta watch the timer, otherwise you will grind these potatoes down to little fucking nubs. So they just want the skin taken off. So you got to get it just right. It took me 2 or 3 tries before I was able to judge it right, and it took me about somewhere right around 5 hours, to peel all these goddamn potatoes. I had about an hour and a half to eat lunch. The only good thing about KP and when I was in basic and AIT was you're allowed to fucking eat whatever the fuck you want. They didn't give a fuck. They'd give you a break every hour and a half or 10 minutes. And when you're in basic and AIT, especially the younger guys, they're working the dog shit out of you. So your body is always in a calorie deficit and starving for calories. So I was going out there and drinking 2 glasses of chocolate milk, eating the fucking cookies that they had fucking laying about, sandwiches, fucking chili, whatever the fuck you want. You got to eat whatever the fuck you want. Nobody said shit. So that was the only upside to the KP thing. And the rest of the time, I washed dishes. That was pretty much it. You're washing dishes for the entire kitchen facility. And I believe I only had to wash the dinner dishes. And some of the people who went with me had to wash the breakfast and lunch dishes. And there's just an ass load of pans and pots. And now, I don't know what they do now, if it's pre-made or what have you. But back in the day, when I was doing KP, everything was made pretty much from scratch. I believe when you started KP, you started at like 6 in the morning and went to 6 at night. And it fucking sucked. I even the food thing was good, but the rest of it just royally sucked dick. Second time I pulled KP. The first time I did it in basic, second time I did it in AIT. But back in the day, back in Fort Benning, especially infantry, basic, and AIT was all at once. It was like 3.5 months, just a pinch over 3 months. And that was with reception time and all other bullshit. Now, the second time I pulled KP, I was the guy who filled the mermites. And what mermites are, it's a big green thermos. It's like this fucking big, it's that wide, or this tall, this wide, and about this deep. And it's got 2 to 3 sections in there, and you fill up these goddamn aluminum fucking little tins, you put the lid on, and you drop them in there, it keeps it warm. And also, just so you guys know this, that when you put the shit in the aluminum, receptacles, it's the aluminum reacting with the scrambled eggs that turns the eggs green. So I would put the eggs in the mermites, and they would be yellow, all the scrambled eggs. We would get the mermites back, open them up, and if there was any eggs left, they would have a green tint to them. It's some kind of chemical reaction between the sulfur in the eggs and the aluminum. I don't know if it's toxic or not. I really made it a habit not to eat any eggs that were green. Though I know people who, no matter what they fucking look like, just ate them, and they're still alive today. So that's that. Yeah, that really sucked, because it was me, and I think we had, on the Mermite team, I was just a nug in that whole thing. I wasn't in charge or anything. I was just a private. I think we had 12 guys, and, because we were doing the Mermites for all of the units in our starship. That's what they called the big fucking buildings back in the day. And there's 3 companies, or 4 companies in the starship. Each company has 120 men. So that's like 500 dudes. That's a lot of fucking mermites. Because In AIT, a lot of those guys, especially in infantry school, are almost the entire cycle in the field. I think 30% of it back in the day was back in the barracks. The rest of it was in the field. That sucked. But they also allowed you to eat and take your breaks, which was the only shining point in fucking KP, man. I fucking hated it. I had to do KP again when I was in the 9th Infantry Division, only one time. And, I was basically just a server. I just handed out food to people and helped wash some dishes. It was nothing like it was in basic and AIT. And it was only an 8-hour shift. When I was actually in the regular Army, it wasn't 12 hours. And of that 8 hours, I only worked maybe 6. So it is what it is. All right, so we covered KP. All right, and another shit job that I did not like in the beginning was CQ. Now, CQ stands for Charge of Quarters. All right, and that's at a company level. Now, typically, the CQ is an E5. When I pulled CQ in the 9th Infantry Division, I was an E2 and an E3, and, you're basically the bitch for the CQ guy. And, he sat there and answered the phone, and he would hand me the keys and tell me to go inspect all the fucking buildings, go walk out to the motor pool, check all the locks. I had a goddamn checklist I had to do, and I did that every other hour for 24 fucking hours while the CQ sat on his fucking ass. So I did not like that at all, and later on, when I went up to the 2nd Ranger Battalion, they made me the CQ. Except over there, when I arrived as an E4, you're allowed to be CQ, and then you'd have people working for you, some privates and PFCs. And I also remember just how shitty it was, when I was the fucking CQ runner, and I made it a habit not to be a dick to the runner, and I would split relatively even the duties. I would do the inspection, then he would do the inspection. I would answer the phone. I let him answer the phone. And then I ran a drone fund. And let me explain what that is. See, back in the day when I was in the Ranger Battalion between 88 and 91, you had to be 21 to drink. And there were no women allowed in the barracks. And all kinds of other fucking crazy mayhem that you had. Like, I had a guy who was shooting a 22 in the hallway into a trap range. When I was CQ, I would always find 2 to 6 women in the barracks. Some of them were girlfriends, and some of them were just barracks whores that liked Ranger dick. They knew when I was on CQ that they really didn't have to sneak and do stupid underhanded shit. Because when soldiers do that, that's when people get hurt, equipment gets damaged, property gets damaged, and that all leads to questions. And once people ask questions, they're probably not going to like some of the answers, and those answers have negative repercussions. So there were quite a few times that have guys go out, come back, have like 3 cases of beer, and I would go, hey, you got 3 cases of beer, all right. You drink in the barracks and be safe? They're like, oh, roger that. I go, hey, are you 21? And I would get that deer in the headlights stare because I knew they weren't 21. And I didn't want the answer because if they answered me, I have to say yes, and then I'm fucking implicated in allowing people under 21 to drink in the barracks. Even though that was going on all over all the time. So I look at these 3 guys and go, hey, man, in about 3 minutes, I am going to walk down the hallway to the vending machine and get a Coke and a candy bar. And I come back, if there's $5 in the drone fund, I didn't see shit. Yes, it's, it is extortion to a certain degree, but... it is what it is. Hang on a minute. I got a goddamn text from assholes here. Let's see. Asshole. What do you want? All right, so CQ. Now, I mean, literally, I caught these motherfuckers in the 2nd Ranger Battalion hauling women up to the 3rd floor on ropes. If they drop those women, they're fucking, they're injured, possibly critically injured, or dead. All 3 are going to lead questions, which are going to fuck people up. So, I would look the other way when, women would sneak in the back door, as long as I didn't fucking see them. Before I was walking to the vending machine, because I could only be in one place at one time. It's kind of hard to watch 120 fucking men. And I had a CQ runner, and he would do pretty much the same thing. And at the end of the 24-hour shift, usually it ended at 9 a.m., I would have the drone fund, and I would divvy it up 50-50 or 60-40, depending if I liked the runner or not. Give him his fucking loot. I would take my loot and go about my way. And back then, 120 fucking dudes probably get anywhere from $60 to $100, and a lot of guys would just walk by and drop $1 in the drone fund just for shits and giggles. And in early 90s money, $60, that's 2 weekends out. The money used to go a lot farther, believe it or not. So that's pretty much the CQ stories. And I talked in further detail to some of the crazy stories that I did in the Ranger Bat. You're just gonna have to go back and deal with the CQ shit. Now, when I got promoted to E5 after I came back from Ranger School in '90, I was eligible for staff duty, which is one step above the CQ, where you are now the staff duty for the entire battalion. And you have a staff duty runner. Now that one, there was no drone fund, there was none of that shit, because most of the time people did not come into the headquarters barracks. Okay, because you have Charlie, Alpha, and Bravo companies, then you have HHC. So when you do staff duty, you're in the HHC building. Those guys in the HHC building knew my MO. So, I was very flexible to a certain degree. And, barring any, blood, police involvement, it was pretty much, going to be all right. Now, as the staff duty, I'd have to go inspect all the companies, look at their check logs, ask them fucking questions, walk through the barracks at least once during the night. At least once. I used to make a habit of doing it twice. I would go at 9 o'clock, and then I would go at 2 a.m. All right. And then at 2 a.m., I would ask how many Rangers that you have, checked out of the building, what's going on, blah, 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 just to make sure everything was on the up and up. Now, on a couple of those occasions, as the staff duty, I had to get in the staff duty van and drive, once to Tacoma to go pick up 14 drunk Rangers who were calling for exfil. Because, the companies had a van, but it was like a medium-sized van, but the battalion had a 16-pack van. And in Ranger speak, 16-pack van really means 40 people. Because how many Rangers can you fit in a truck? All of them. You stack them like fucking cordwood. Yeah, and you're herding drunk people around. Occasionally I would go out there to on-post housing, and I would keep an NCO from, throttling his wife for whatever reason. And I'm going to be honest, ass whippings just don't fall from the sky. But the MPs on post had a unwritten agreement with the Rangers. For instance, if they get a call on post housing that there's some kind of domestic going on, and the soldier living in that barrack is assigned to the Rangers, before the MPs even walk in the door, they call the CQ or the staff duty, usually the staff duty. And then the staff duty runs out there and quells the situation before the MPs come in and have to write reports and arrest people. And sometimes things got physical because said Rangers were drinking bravery juice and the I want to fight button was turned on. It just is what it is. And, nobody got any teeth knocked out or got permanently maimed. But on about 30% of the time, asses were kicked. And the MPs would sit there and watch. You know, said individual would go into the staff duty van and we would drive off. And that was it. End of the fucking, hooty-doo. And on a couple occasions, there were some big fucking fights at the Madigan Club, which was the enlisted club on McCord at the time. And it was in the back of the Madigan Hospital. I don't know what they have now. I think they have a big fucking, a whole separate building. But there was always fights going on between Rangers and the fucking infantry and whoever else, the engineers. If the fight was outside the bar in the parking lot and the MPs interceded and broke it up and individuals involved in said fight were members of the Ranger Battalion, they called staff duty, we came and got them, and then, because the MPs handed them over to us, we had to report it up higher and people got fucking smoked. Usually it was like a 24-mile road march, sometimes a 12-mile road march, because Sergeant Major Leon Guerrera at the time basically said, if you come down on the blotter, for said offenses, it was 12 miles. For other offenses, it was 24. And then it got worse from there, because I actually got the full boat press and had to do like some crazy fucking road march. Like, I think it was because I was drag racing 78 over in a 25, and it was, if I came down on the blotter for speeding or whatever, it was 1 mile per mile over the speed limit, and it took me all weekend to walk that. So he wasn't fucking around. Those are some of the fucking shit jobs. I have a whole list here. I'm going to go through them down the road, but I've already gone over 20 minutes just talking about CQ and staff duty. I hope you guys enjoy that, and especially you vets out there. Hopefully this brought back some fond memories of your CQ and staff duty. Because let's face it, spontaneous idiots just happen. Especially when you add stupid sauce and you flip the I want to fight button.